Good evening, everyone, and good morning to some of you. My name is Orit Barnea-Saif. I'm the director of Kedma. On behalf of Kedma and our partners JIC, Alim, and Tel Aviv International Synagogue, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the fifth installment of Kedma Conversations. Tonight, we are thrilled to welcome the Minister of Diaspora Affairs, Omer Yankelevich. We launched Kedma Conversations last month because we believe that there's a value to introducing Kedma students, alum, partners, and friends to Israeli leaders, such as Minister Yankelevich. Through getting to know these leaders, we can all better understand Israeli society. Similarly, we believe that through the power of giving back, we can best connect to those around us. To that end, Kedma runs volunteer programs worldwide. Here in Jerusalem, we have placed 200 gap year students from the diaspora in weekly volunteer positions, including work with lone soldiers and lone bnot shirut, packing food for the needy, and volunteering at women's shelters. Our remote programs, Dial Safta and Homework Helpers, which we started special during the pandemic, also connect people living in the diaspora with students studying in Jerusalem for the year. The importance of strengthening the international Jewish community and creating bridges between Israel and the diaspora is at the crux of our newest program, Kedma's Remote Chesed program, which will launch in the coming months. Now that air travel is limited and celebrating milestones in Israel is nearly impossible for people living abroad, we are offering to connect families in the diaspora with Israeli nonprofits so that they can mark their happy occasions, whether it be a bar or bat mitzvah or a special anniversary, by connecting with an Israeli organization remotely, thus adding meaning to their celebration. We are hopeful that Kedma's Remote Chesed program will strengthen the bridges between Israel and diaspora Jewry and will further our mission of building communities based on the joy of giving. It is now my pleasure to introduce Rabbi Maury Kelman, founder and chairman of Kedma.
Thank you very much, Orit. First of all, it's really a pleasure to be here and to be with all of you. I just wanted to thank our co-sponsors, JIC Israel, who have been with us from the beginning. It's actually very appropriate. I will get to the minister in one moment. Our co-sponsor from the beginning has been JIC, which does wonderful work in Israel and abroad as well. And our other sponsors are Alina, which is a new group helping Olim in Israel, and the Tel Aviv International Synagogue. So we're all sort of very relevant to what the minister has been doing for the last number of years, meaning trying to bridge the gap between Israel and diaspora, becoming a welcoming home. So we'll get right into it with the Minister Yankelevich. So as we'll hear, I think hopefully right now, the minister grew up in what I would call a more traditional Beis Yaakov type of home. She studied in Beis Yaakov. She went to, or you, I'll speak directly to the Minister Yankelevich. You went to the Gateshead Seminary in England, and you were probably on what would be considered a traditional path of what we might call the Haredi world. I don't like the label so much. So my question to you is how you went from what you were probably called at the beginning of your career, you were a teacher, Mrs. Yankelevich, to Minister Yankelevich. If you can just tell us a little bit of how that path occurred. It's not the traditional path based on the beginning of your bio, and I think it really is fascinating that you are what people call the first Haredi woman minister in Israel's history. So if you can just trace for us a little bit how that came into being.
No problem. Just a second before I'm starting to answer questions, I want to start the evening, if it's okay. So we'll keep the question 2 seconds. And I want to say, first of all, shalom lekulam, hello and erev tov and good evening. And I want to tell you that this is a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to join Kedma and everyone here today. I'm very excited. It's a big opportunity for me, particularly in this time when our physical connection are so limited. Opportunities such as this one to engage with all of you are particularly meaningful and inspiring for us, as all of us have experienced being a part of a global Jewish people with connections in Israel and across the world is particularly challenging during a global pandemic. On the one hand, this period has highlighted the realities of physical distance, but I know how ready you are to visit your families, whether in Israel or abroad. Yet it has also highlighted the strength of the Jewish people's desire to be in relationship with each other and create new ways for engagement. That is why events such as this one are especially meaningful for me to be a part of. So before we start and I start to answer the questions, we'll start our conversation. I want to say how much I appreciate programs such as Kedma, which inspire young people through shared action and volunteerism. The young people in this program are not just the future of the Jewish people. You are the present Jewish leaders of today. So I hope that that your time in Israel was meaningful and that you use this year's experience back in your communities or on your college campuses. It is important not just to have opportunities for you to ask me questions now, but for me and more broadly, the Israeli government, the society, to hear and learn from you. So I hope that this conversation is only the beginning of an opening short conversation between us. And Rabbi Kalman, thank you for your first question. So I will answer. I will start answering. Toda rabba. So, so for your question, I want to start and to say that my goal was never politics. It was never politics. It was always around social impact. Was my story from the beginning. I started my professional path as a teacher. I enjoyed teaching, but I felt that my true calling was to work in creating a structural change within Israeli society, and particularly on behalf of minority communities. And I believe that becoming a lawyer would open the door for such work. So I started working within, so I studied law and I became a lawyer. And then I started working within the government, where I learned about the needs of minority groups in Israel. And in response, I created an organization that called the Just Begun Foundation, which connected to marginalized communities in Israel with opportunities and resources. And I developed ways to provide tools and opportunities to every population within Israel without the expectation that any of these individuals would need to change their religious or beliefs or values. And through this work, I connected with Benny Gantz. And in the end, he invited me to join the party as a member of the Knesset. And I have to be honest, at first I said no, but he convinced me that this was an opportunity to create more impact within Israeli civil society. And during my time in the Knesset, I have worked to empower minority and traditional communities by providing more opportunities for them to gain tools and training for today's world. This is crucial to Israel's national identity and purpose, which is rooted in the values of inclusiveness and equal opportunities for all.
Thank you very much. So just to follow up on that, as someone coming from a quote unquote more Haredi background and joining Blue and White, I think you had joined originally the Israeli Resilience Party, which morphed into Blue and White in one of the 7 elections ago, I think, something along those lines. So it's as we said, it's not a tradition. Blue and White is not considered a Haredi party. There are Haredi parties, which I believe have never had a woman sitting in the Knesset. I believe there was an attempt not so long ago to have a women's quote unquote Haredi party. So what are some of those challenges of being someone from that community and sitting in Blue and White, but dealing with UTJ, dealing with Shas, people who their views aren't always exactly parallel to Blue and White's views? How have you navigated some of those challenges?
So when a person is positioned at the front of any process, it will be more challenging for them to break down barriers. But so as the first Haredi female minister, I have a unique set of challenges that I faced both, by the way, within the Haredi community and within Israeli society and secular party. And when I entered the Knesset, I was put under a magnifying glass because of who I am, both from secular and Haredi society. Instead of evaluating my professional achievements, each side all the time questioned and tested me. This challenge ultimately turned in the end into an opportunity. My place as a Haredi woman is in a secular party is actually an advantage. I feel that today I serve as a bridge, not only between Israel and world Jewry, but also within Israeli society. And I feel that I'm uniquely able to speak to everyone and bring about dialogue based on my unique position. And being the first Haredi female minister sitting at the prime minister's table opens up the opportunity for me to provide hope to women and those from marginalized societies. On the today, on the evening before International Women's Day, my message is this: that I doesn't in the end it doesn't matter how challenging or how long or how complicated the road is. We all have the ability to make an impact in our shared world. And I have to be honest, the road to my place, with all the complicated side, it was very, very challenging. And from the media side and the Israeli society, but as someone at the front of this process, I was willing to pay the price. What but I was willing to pay the price, but I have to be honest and to say that what does hurt me is that other women or other minorities might see how challenging this process, and they could be discouraged, chas v'chalila. So my message is, they all of them should not be. Anyone who is looking to promote policy within Israel should not give up, because it's worth it in the end.
Okay, so we actually interviewed your colleague, Michal Kotler-Wunsch, just a few weeks ago. And one of the things that she discussed was that behind the scenes, that basically what you alluded to right now, behind the scenes, things are maybe a little bit better. So I was wondering if there's maybe any, and you especially sit in the nexus of many different communities, as you just heard. Are there any vignettes or anything that you can share with us, perhaps, that can give us hope when we see the vitriol that seems to be often within politics, within the Knesset? Are there any things anything you can share with us from your vantage point that can give us a little bit
about
of
the conversation with all the Jews, with all the societies?
within the Knesset, like within the different parties, and someone who cares about minorities and cares about all people. But we have the Knesset, which seems very fractured, of course. And are there any things that from your experience of speaking and behind the scenes quietly, that you can share with us, perhaps give us a little bit of hope going forward?
There is a lot of hope. We're doing a lot of things, and we are talking between us, and I believe that the conversation inside the government is a very, very unique conversation. And the things that we did in the day, I'm going to answer this question by starting maybe with a story. That I was born in the end I was born to a secular family in Israel. growing up, my father was a very talented actor who found great joy from his work. But when my family became more religious, my father was forced to choose between his professional work and passion and his religious practice and faith. And back then, there was no place for a Haredi to be an actor in Israel. And my father chose his faith over his profession. Growing up, I understood that there was no reason to have to choose one over the other. And more than that, I developed the frame that our belief, gender or race should not limit our ability to engage with the other. Rather, they allow for a more interesting and valuable conversation. And I see it as my role to make this message clear and allow for there to be enough space for every Jew to have a seat at the table. And I take this same ideology and apply it to my work in the ministry, in the Knesset, our work in the Knesset, all what's going on behind the scenes in the Knesset and in the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs. In the end, our people have many ways of expressing their identity. I'm going for a second to the office, to the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs. I think that this is an issue that could be very interesting for you. And I feel that in our office, we work and we listen to Jews from all spaces and backgrounds. Diversity is what creates the great mosaic of the Jewish people. And we meet with everyone from anywhere. And I'm interested in the learning about all the communities, about their identity, their experience. And I am very happy to share my idea. And this is what it means to be a part in the end of the Jewish people. And this is what's going on in the Knesset in the end. We're working here. We're trying to connect between the different communities here. And in the end, I believe that the most important thing is to sit around the table and to speak. That's what I'm doing in the diaspora ministry, and that's what I'm doing in the Knesset with the different parties and with the dialogue between the different communities. And I feel that all the members in the Knesset, in the end, when we sit together, we speak, we have a common destiny, and in the end, we're trying to work together. If it works, this is another question.
Okay, so to follow up on that, actually, to go to the other side, as you mentioned, you represent really the connection between Israel and the diaspora. There are many Jews, in fact, the vast majority of Jews in the diaspora, whose beliefs are not exactly in sync with Orthodox Judaism, with observance Judaism. We've been inundated the last few years with all types of conflicts, the Kotel, etc. This last week, the decision of Bagatz, of the Supreme Court, to recognize Reform and conservative conversions within Israel for those to become citizens is very contentious, all types of vitriol, again, to use that word, back and forth. How do you balance your own beliefs with recognizing your role as somebody that can reach over the aisle, as it were? I remember when you first became minister, they interviewed the heads of the Reform Judaism, others, who said, we're waiting to see, what things are like. So if you can tell us a little bit how you've navigated that balance of your belief system, belief in Torah Sinai, etc., with the majority of Jews.
As I said a second ago, we're working here to build the dialogue, to speak with everyone, to have the relationship. We meet with everyone, we speak with everyone. I'm interested in learning about their Jewish identity, about their experience. We need to, with all the world Jewry, to have in the end a common conversation. As I say all the time, when I sit in Shabbat table with my children, they have different opinions. Each one of them has his set of mind. But in the end, when they get after they have their arguments and they have their conversation, when they're getting up from the table, they are hugging each other because we are one family. And when I came to the office, I decided, listen, I'm not a Misrad Datot, I'm not This is not, this is not my issues now to deal with all that. We have a lot of complicated issues, and it's okay. We need to speak. We need to discuss about this issue, and we need to find the solutions. But first of all, we have to speak and to have the dialogue and to connect between ourselves. And in the office, we work with everyone. We spoke with everyone because we are one big family. This is our goal, to have a connections and to build the relationship as a family, as the one as one Jewish people.
Okay, that's wonderful. I hope you're having influence on others in the Knesset also to take that view, because I think we need a lot more of that. I think we need someone like you who's got a Chumash Mikra Gedolot behind you and the flag of Israel. I think it's a wonderful, really, example to the Jewish people, and to be like that. So it is what and everyone has said that I've seen that you have done a great job in terms of bringing people together, and Bezrat Hashem, people will be influenced by that going forward. I think you referenced International Women's Day. We've had, like I said, Michal Kotter. We had Fleur Hassan Nahum the other week as well. I think we could use some more women in politics. I think it'd be
definitely,
and,
no question about.
some very,
but the path of the woman, I think it's a little bit complicated, but we have to be strong and to be there, definitely.
Okay, if you can just maybe touch a little bit about your time as Minister of Diaspora Affairs, to talk a little bit about some of your goals. I know our common destiny is something that has been rolled out. Some of your goals that you've accomplished, some of your dreams, and maybe some advice to the next Minister of Diaspora Affairs from your vantage point.
Okay, thank you for the question. So, today the Jewish people face both great ongoing challenges and opportunities, but I believe that now, during this particularly difficult period where all of us across the Jewish world are struggling, we have been able to come together and use our energy and imagination to create new opportunities between us. And we at the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs have been a part of this movement during this particularly unique and challenging moment in time. First, let me share how I frame my role and the role of the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs. I see it as my office's mandate to be the address for world Jewry within the government of Israel. We are tasked with reflecting and supporting Jewish communities around the world and working to build a mutual conversation and relationship between Israel and world Jewry. And during my time, we focused on responding to the challenges facing the Jewish world, which have been intensified due to the coronavirus. Like decreasing loss of Jewish identity and engagement, rising anti-Semitism both online and offline, and the growing disconnect between Israel and world Jewry. Within these challenges are great opportunities that the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, along with our partners, are acting upon. On the connections between Israel and world Jewry, the relationship between us is crucial to the Jewish people's future. Yet we are not connected enough. So in responding to this challenge, one of my first step was to move the office from a tactical to a long-term strategic approach. We passed a government decision to accept the Diaspora Affairs Ministry's Fassber-Kandel Committee report in July. This decision gives the Israeli government a responsibility in the relationship between Israel and world Jewry. We are now acting on this mandate in several ways, including with the recent launch of the Israel Jewish Peoplehood Center. This center is organizing existing and future opportunities in Israel, which aim to inspire Israelis to see themselves as a part of a large large Jewish people and connect Israelis with world Jewry in innovative ways. And I think that this is a very, very important project. Additionally, the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs is focused right now on standardizing a consultation process, as you said, a consultation process between the State of Israel and world Jewry on matters regarding world Jewry. This is one of the most exciting initiatives taking place in our office and represents a real paradigm shift in the relationship between Israel and the Jewish world. The idea is grounded in an understanding of the importance of mutual dialogue between Israel and the world Jewry, and it represents the state of Israel taking responsibility for its side of the relationship and acknowledging that decisions made within our government directly impact Jewish communities around the world. As such voices, such as all of yours, are crucial for us to listen to and appreciate when we're making the decisions. And it's very important for me that we will continue this process. And I want to tell you that over the last 2 months, we embarked on a consultation process asking Jewish communities around the world how they envision their relationship with the government of Israel and how they would like to be consulted. We are now building the infrastructure for consultation through the passing of a government decision.
You don't know that. I see her building.
Of a government decision and hosting our first consultation meeting with world Jewry before the end of this government term. Ultimately, our work to strengthen Jewish identity and engagement and ensure a mutual and productive and positive relationship between Israel and the world Jewry is ongoing. But I believe that we made great progress in moving forward policy to be continued after my time in office, Bezrat Hashem.
Okay, my next question is taking advantage, I hope, of your unique circumstances. Someone who started off, as you said before, not interested in politics. That was not in your mind. And then you became a teacher, and then you became a lawyer. You worked in government, and now you actually are in the government. We all know that the electoral system needs help. It's not in the best of shape, as it's very clear, obviously. What would you do? What advice would you have? There have been a lot of issues floated. Would you do what to correct that system, to ensure that we don't have in the government every 5 or 6 or 7 months or weeks, et cetera, et cetera? And what is the best possible solution that you think is realistic? Is there talk within government? We haven't heard much. I mean, there are 120 members of Knesset. We don't hear that every party has platforms. I personally, I don't know of any party that's saying we need as a major part of our platform to change the electoral system. So if you can just speak a little bit to that issue and from your vantage point.
Look, Israel, first of all, let's start with that. Israel has fair and open democratic elections with a diverse number of candidates and a high rate of vote turnout. Yet we must rebuild trust and transparency between any elected government and its citizens, and between communities within Israel. Second, now is the time, to put party politics aside for the good of society, particularly during a health and economic crisis. Politicians must build a strong and broad coalition across party lines to lead the government in the end together. Only through rebuilding public trust we will be able to maintain a strong and representative government. And in the end, as always, we need to build dialogue between us. between the different societies here in Israel.
Okay, the minister will be with us for another few minutes, so we have a couple more questions, but if anybody has a question, you can send it in the chat group and perhaps we'll have time to ask that as well. So as has been reported, you are not standing for election in the next Knesset. So we want to know, what is the next step for you? Is this something that is just a respite from the last couple of years? Do you see yourself going back into politics? If you can just speak a little bit about your own future and the possible political future as well, whether it's blue and white or another party, etc.
So listen, first of all, I'm taking one step back, Be'ezrat Hashem, to take 2 steps forward in the long term, Be'ezrat Hashem. While Baruch Hashem, I had opportunities to continue both in the blue and white and the other parties, I chose from a place of strength to take this moment and rethink my next step. It's healthy to do it. I aim, Be'ezrat Hashem, to continue to advocate for women and minority communities in Israel, and to continue to find ways, Be'ezrat Hashem, to bring together the Jewish world. I see this as my ongoing mission, my shlichut and purpose. Politics, is just one angle of which to do this important work, and I remain dedicated as ever to moving forward Israeli society and the Jewish people. And if I believe that if I need to be in politics, B'ezrat Hashem, I'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
Slowly but surely.
We look forward to hearing. All right, so I think you have to go in a couple of minutes. I just want to ask, though, if you have any messages during these times, Corona times, when unprecedented, it's people who want to visit it, people who love Israel can't even visit Israel, the various challenges that Jews around the world are facing. If you have a message as a minister of the diaspora affairs, to the diaspora, and also if you can speak a little bit about, based on your experience of really meeting and getting a deeper insight into the incredible panorama of diaspora Jewry, how you see the future of that Jewry, Israel here, etc.
I have really few minutes, so before I will say my closure. I will tell you that I believe that we need to sit around the table and to speak. I worked in the last few months, and I met so many communities, and during all the way with all the conversation, everyone has the same message: what's going to be with the next generation. And I feel that we need to speak about our common destiny, that based on our legacy, to speak about our legacy, but in the action to build our relationship, our mutual conversation, and to see how we are building the connection as a family. This is in the end when I speak about the next generation, about our next leaders, about our children, to build their future, to build the common destiny. I believe that it's rooted, the most important thing is to speak, is to talk, is to have a mutual conversation. And I would like to thank you all so much for the opportunity to engage with you this evening. The message, again, that I hope to leave you as you ask me, is that there is so much more than unite us than divide us. As we sit here together, we speak, we have so much in common. And people are, as you started in the beginning to ask me about the things that divide us, there are so many things that unite us. And this need to be the message and the issue. And it is this unity that will empower us to overcome our great challenges, whether it be the pandemic, inspiring the next generation, as I told you, or ensuring the connection between Israel and Jewish communities around the the world. And this is also an issue that I think that is so important. We are not 7 million Jews in Israel and 8.5 million Jews abroad. We are one family. We are 15 million Jews, and we need we need to build a strong relationship. So I look forward to continuing this shared mission and work with all of you, my dear friends. And please know that I see myself now as your address within the government of Israel in the next few months, Bezrat Hashem. And please know that my door is always open to the Kedma participants in the room. I hope you enjoyed your last weeks in Israel before the Pesach holiday, and that this time was meaningful and inspiring with the Kedusha of Israel. So much hatzlacha in your future, Bezrat Hashem, and I wish all of you and your families and communities, first of all, health, and the opportunity for us to come together, Bezrat Hashem, besmachot, enjoy, whether here in Yerushalayim or Bezrat Hashem in your communities in the coming days. Thank you for the opportunity to meet you. Toda rabba, and please keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll let you go now, and we'll have a concluding remarks afterwards, but it's really been a pleasure. And again, we look forward to hearing wonderful things from you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Toda rabba.
Okay, during her absence, I'm sorry there are a couple of questions that we didn't get to. I know in terms of border crossings, that's a major issue. I think from what I know, there was a bill that she tried to pass a couple of months ago to allow people reach out to her office. And also, again, Michal Kotler, I know, is very involved. Dov Lipman, who's not in the Knesset, but he's spent a lot of time helping people. And hopefully the borders will open soon and safely for everybody. So thank you all for joining. I just want to give, again, a quick thank you to our co-sponsors, JIC, Jewish International Connection, New York, Israel, Alinu, and Tel Aviv International Synagogue. Our next program, we'll send out the details, but Bezrat Hashem will be next week with also someone who's broken some glass ceilings. Her name is Bidi Deutsch. She's a world-class marathoner. If the Olympics will happen in Tokyo this year, and the marathon won't be on Shabbos, she will probably be in that marathon. But as of now, I just spoke to her. The marathon is scheduled to be on Shabbos, but she's an amazing story as well. A mother of 5 who is an international Olympian, international marathoner. So look forward to Bezrat Hashem next Tuesday, and we have some other wonderful programs coming up. So again, thank you. If you want to get more information, you can go to the Kedma website, the JIC website, kedma.org, jicjikni.org, also the Facebook pages as well. And it's been a pleasure. Wish everybody a good evening or a good day wherever you are. And thank you, Arit, again. And that's it. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful Pesach if we don't speak before.